Hey guys, I'm back with a new video and let's talk about MOTELX 2024. So this is my typical video of just a recap of everything that I've watched during the festival. If you've been following my Instagram stories during the week of the festival, which was almost a week ago, you already know every single movie that I've watched. I didn't really talk much about neither of them, only the ones that I just really stood out to me. So this will be a bunch of reviews in one, although I'm not gonna spend much time in some of the films because either I already did a full review, like a single separate review for them, so I'll leave them up here when the time comes, or I will be doing. There's like a couple of films that aren't out yet, so I'm waiting for the right time to post my review. But yeah, I'll let you know once I go through my list. Every single year I try to do something different, so I did a ranking video once. Last year I did like a best of and talked about a movie for like a category like best cinematography or best kills or best actor. So this year, I'm running out of ideas, so if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments of how should I present to you the films that I've watched during the festival. So today I'm just gonna do like a good old just list. I'm gonna go through my Letterboxd. My Letterboxd is always in the description if you want to follow me and see what I have been watching. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through my Letterboxd diary and talk to you about each film. So let's go. So I'm just gonna go this way so I can put my Letterboxd here. First film that I've watched, I talked briefly about it in my first vlog, which is Speak No Evil, the remake. Yeah, I'm not gonna get too much into it. I thought it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. I still prefer the original, but this one wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Like, I was curious, but usually Hollywood remakes aren't the best. So yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised. Then I also talked about In a Violent Nature in my vlog briefly. This film, I felt almost the same as Speak No Evil, because as you can see, I also gave it a 3 out of 5. Like, the thing with this film is just that it's really slow, but it has great kills. Yeah, I talk a bit more in depth in my vlog, so check it out. On the second day, I've watched this French film called Planet B. This film is interesting, has an interesting premise. I also talked a little bit about it in day 2 and 3 of the festival, like the vlog that I did for those days. But this is like a futuristic sci-fi film, and there's these like protest groups. The government is trying to catch them and they trap them in a virtual prison. That's basically it. It's interesting, but it's not as action-packed as I thought a film like this would be. So again, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I feel like this festival I gave a lot of 3s, so just be warned. Then I watched an Indonesian film called Do You See What I See? This is your typical like supernatural horror, and it's Asian, so you can expect some spooky things. The atmosphere is there, but it's also kind of comedic in a way. And yeah, again, I give it a 3 out of 5. It was probably one of the only supernatural films that I've watched at the festival. Surprisingly, there weren't many, so this was different, but it's your typical supernatural horror movie. Yeah, I also dive a little bit more into it in my vlog, so check it out. And then I watched Cuckoo. As you can see, I loved Cuckoo. I also talked about it in that video and that vlog. Yeah, this you should not know much about it, which I didn't, and I loved it. It was so unique and original and surprising. It's really good on a rewatch, which I did. We'll see like further on. And yeah, check out my vlog for a more in-depth review. I've watched it twice, as I said, so if you want me to do a full-on with spoilers, like single video review, tell me in the comments. Day 3, I've watched Exuma. This was really good, and I've also talked about it in that vlog. I really liked it, and I was really struggling not to fall asleep because I was tired, not because the film was bad. And that's why I got an headache. I was trying so hard to pay attention to this film because I was so into it. This is really surprising, has a lot going on. As I said in that vlog, it's like 3 different films in one. It's a little bit long. It's 135 minutes, so over 2 hours. But I was really into it, and it's a Korean film, so you can expect like good things. Then I watched Maxine, which was the other film the reason why I did that vlog. Yeah, unfortunately, Maxine wasn't my favorite. I still think I preferred this one over Pearl, but I can see why people prefer Pearl. Pearl is a bit more unique. This one, I don't know, it's just the story isn't the best. It's slightly like messy and convoluted, and there's not much to it. But yeah, if you liked X and Pearl, you should totally like check out Maxine and see this trilogy end. Even though I've heard there's talks about a 4th film. Yeah, I don't know. I think this should just be it. Yeah, let me know your opinions in the comments. And then on that day, I watched Tenement, and Tenement is a Cambodia film. It's a good one. I liked it. It's another one that it's more of a supernatural. But as I said in that review, I think there's a lot of like fillers in this film. Like there's a lot of shots, a lot of sequences that are here just to make it a feature film. Yeah, I don't know. I liked the culture aspect. I always love that. And it was a bit creepy, but it dragged a little bit. Now, onto the days that I did not vlog, so these films are a bit more surprising for you. So I watched Handling the Undead. As you can see, another 3 out of 5. This was good, but it's a really slow film, and the topics that they touch on, they don't really develop them. So yeah, there's a few shocking like things here, and it's a kind of a sad film, but it's not like fully developed in its message. Like they don't really add anything new to it. So it's a gorgeous film, good performances, shocking moments, but at the end of the day, I feel like it dragged a little bit. Then I've watched this Irish film called Frevaka. I think that's how you pronounce it. This was interesting until it was a bit too slow. Again, I give this one a 3 out of 5 as well. I liked the concept, and it started fast-paced, but then it started to drag, and I'm not gonna lie, I did sleep a little bit during this film. I was tired, yes, but I don't know, something about it didn't grab me. This is about a woman that goes take care of an old woman that it's like needs some assistance, but something is like wrong with that old woman, and she believes there's something evil going after her. Yeah, and that's about it. Like it has a bit of folklore in there. It's creepy as well. I don't know. I don't know why this just wasn't it for me. And then I've watched The Substance, which I also have like a full-on review on my channel, so I'll leave it here. Loved The Substance. If you want to know more, just check out my separate review. But yeah, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. It's almost a perfect film, has everything. And lastly, on that day, I watched Your Monster. And I'm not gonna talk about it because I'm gonna do a separate review for it. So check out in a few weeks, in a couple weeks, I'm gonna have a review on this one. So yeah, that's gonna be a surprise. On my 5th day at the festival, I started the day watching The Devil's Bath, which I had high expectations for it for like 2 reasons. Because of the directors. These are the same directors that did Goodnight Mommy and The Lodge, and I love The Lodge. And because Emma from Spooky Astronauts said that this was her favorite film up until that point in the year of this year. And yeah, I was like really excited about it in a way. But then I knew this was a period piece, and I'm just not really into them. And as you can see, yeah, I gave it a 2 out of 5. I just didn't like it. I slept for most of it. It was too long. Period pieces, I knew it, but I just wanted to give it a try, give it a chance. But period pieces just aren't my thing, and it's also kind of a depressing film. Yeah, I was just not into it. It's a really, really slow burn. Then I watched Sasquatch Sunset, which is like the most chaotic, like double feature, even though I watched more films on that day. But going from The Devil's Bath to Sasquatch Sunset was a complete opposite. This film is bonkers, and I had a drink before going into this film, and yeah, let me tell you, that was an interesting watch. Having a drink and then watching this film was quite something. I will definitely not forget about it. It's crazy. This is full-on comedy. It's not even, I wouldn't even say this is horror. Full of like sexual jokes and gross like things and poop and a lot of stuff that it's wild, but it's funny. And just watch the trailer and see if this is your thing, because I think the trailer represents really well what this film is. It's an interesting watch. I ended up kind of liking it. I gave it a 3 out of 5, but you have to be in the right mindset for it. Then I watched Kill, which this one got a lot of hype, and I ended up just thinking it was fine. This wasn't as violent as I thought it would be. It was kind of tamed. It's an interesting ride, like it's a train ride gone terribly wrong. It's fun, it's entertaining, not Sasquatch Sunset funny. It's a different type of fun. It's just entertaining and it's a good time, but it's really overly dramatic at times, and it feels kind of like a soap opera at times. Yeah, it's fun, but it's not as mind-blowing as like a lot of people made it out to be. Yeah, a lot of people like gave it a 4 and a 5, and I just thought it was okay. And lastly, on that day, I watched Sayara, which is the new John. Now I know how to pronounce his name, John Evernall film. He did Baskin, which I love that film. This one isn't as good as Baskin, in my opinion. I gave it a 3, but honestly, this is between a 3 and a 3.5. I go back and forth between those two scores because the director was there and I got to meet him, and it was really interesting. He's a really nice guy. And the film is good. It's just that I'm comparing it to Baskin, which I completely love. And this is nothing like Baskin. This is more of a like true story. Like feels more real than Baskin. Baskin is a bit more like supernatural fantasy. This is more like an action, thriller, horror, full-on horror. Like the gore is really out there, which I loved. And I liked it. It's a revenge type of film with the martial arts, which is what the director said. He wanted to do like a martial arts horror film. So that's what we got here with Sayara. And I think it's a good time. It's more entertaining and more fun in a horror way than Kill is. So yeah, give it a try. I would recommend this one. Yeah, it was a good way to finish that day. Then the second to last day started with Hunting Days, which is a French Canadian film, I think. This film started out pretty interesting, about a woman that has to stay in this cabin with a bunch of dudes. They're on a hunting trip, and she stays with them, and there's hints of an initiation for her to be part of the group. But then this film turned into something else, which wasn't that interesting in my opinion. That's why I only gave it a 2.5 out of 5. I think this film had potential to be really good. I loved the setting, the acting was really good, the premise going into it was interesting, but then they did something completely different than what I thought it would be. And in this case, I wish they stayed to what I thought it would be. This film could be a really good thriller, horror thriller, and it turns into something that was just not as interesting in my opinion. Then I watched The Soul Eater, which again, I also gave it a 2.5 out of 5. It also pains me to give this score because this is by the same directors as Inside and The Deep House, and I love those films. But this one is more of a crime thriller with really horrifying gore. But it reminded me a lot of True Detective, the first season. So if you are into that, if you like that, I think you'll like this film. This is based on a book, and it feels like it is based on a book. I think this, reading it should be more interesting than seeing it happen. They also were there, they did a Q&A, and they said that they changed a few things, that the book isn't as horrifying as they portrayed it in the film. So I don't know, this was interesting, but again, I kind of slept for a bit of it, really slow, but I liked, the story was a bit predictable because it's almost like whodunit, you are following these detectives investigating these crimes, and then at the end you find out who did it, and yeah, it was kind of predictable. And then I watched The Surfer, which is another one that I'm not gonna talk about because I'm gonna do a separate review for it. Keep an eye for this one because this is an interesting one. Lastly, I finished the day with the best, like it was the best way to finish this film. I finally watched Strange Darling, and yeah, as you can see, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. The Substance is a better film, but I am completely obsessed with this film. I also made it like a separate review, so I leave it here. But I love Strange Darling, and I'm a bit biased because I love Kyle Gallner. But this is a really good film, so if you haven't seen it yet, just go watch it. You can watch my review, but I would tell you just to go watch it. Go watch it blind because it's the best way to go into it. And yeah. Finally, the last day of the festival, I watched Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. Another 3 out of 5. This was good. It's a modern take on the Frankenstein story. Talks a lot about racism and police brutality and like those like rough neighborhoods. And it's interesting. I really liked the actress, the girl Laia de Leon Reis. She's really good. She was really good and really funny. And this is a fast-paced film, so it's a good one. It's one that you watch, you easily watch. It's only 91 minutes, so yeah, I would recommend this one. But it's nothing like really different. Like it's a good one. Has some interesting themes, but yeah, it's a 3 out of 5. Then I rewatched Cuckoo. As you can see, I gave it a 4 again. I love Cuckoo, and this time on a rewatch, I was able to just figure out a few things that were kind of bothering me and that were kind of up in the air when the first time that I watched it. I was a bit confused with a few things and I got clarification. So yeah, I would totally recommend to like rewatch Cuckoo if you have some questions. Then it was they have a surprise film, a film that you just buy the ticket to and you don't know what you're going to watch. Last year was Ichi the Killer. This year we weren't that lucky. We watched this bonkers 80s film called Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker. It was a fun watch because we were in a almost packed theater, and this is like 80s cheese. It's so cheesy, so corny. It was fun, but it's not a good film, and it has some really controversial lines and characters, and yeah, it's a lot of things. This film is a lot of things. Good isn't one of them. And I finished the festival. I literally, me and my friends, and a few other people, but I went to the last session of the festival. We closed the cinema at the midnight session. I watched Animale, which was a really interesting film. I really enjoyed it. It was a bit too much in the end, like it was a bit too fantasy, too fantastical, but I liked it. It's about balls and ball riding, which is a thing in Europe, and it's actually a thing here in Portugal and Spain, and actually it is in France as well, because this is a French film. I had no idea that France had a thing for like the ball. It's not actually ball riding, but I don't know how you translate that, but it's just entertainment with balls. And it's about this girl that wants to make it in that world, which is a world that is filled with men. And yeah, it's kind of predictable in a way. It reminded me a lot of Tiger Stripes, but I prefer Tiger Stripes. Tiger Stripes is an amazing film that I actually watched last year in a festival. And they have like a similar concept, but the theme is different. So yeah, guys, these were the films that I've watched at MOTELX this year. A lot of really good ones, but a lot of like mid. I feel like this was the year that I've watched the most like middle of the road films. I gave a lot of 3s out of 5 and a few 2.5s as well. But I got some really good ones, some films that are going to be definitely in my top of the year, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, I hope you liked the video. Let me know in the comments which of these films you have seen and you like, and which ones are you curious about. Don't forget that I'm gonna post Your Monster and the Surfer review soon, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, and I'll see you in my next video.